Too much of an echo? No? It's good. Okay. All right. More people coming in. Yep. My name is Frank Jackalone. I'm the Florida Staff Director of the Sierra Club. And on behalf of the Sierra Club and the Sunshine State Clean Energy Coalition, let me welcome you to the Citizens Hearing for Clean Energy Solutions. The Sierra Club, founded by conservationist John Muir in 1892, is the nation's largest grassroots environmental organization in the country, with 2.3 million supporters and members. Our Florida State headquarters is located right here in St. Petersburg on Central Avenue in a net zero energy building. It's covered by solar panels that generate more electricity than the Sierra Club and the other tenants in the building use. We feed solar power back to Duke Energy. The Sunshine State Clean Energy Coalition is an alliance of environmental, health, business, faith-based, and other groups which care about Florida's energy future. Our goal is to move Florida away from dirty fuels like coal and towards clean energy. We do this by helping communities advocate for the retirement of old and outdated coal plants and replacing them with clean energy solutions like solar, geothermal, and energy efficiency. Simply put, the brightest future for the Sunshine State is to invest in job-creating and money-saving clean energy solutions. Across the country, electric utility companies are investing in efficiency. I skipped a page here. Okay. All right, so why we actually be here tonight? We're hearing on a hot July evening at the beginning of the hurricane season, just 2 days before a national holiday. What is so urgent? Why did we drag you here tonight? It's because we have a once-in-a-decade opportunity to save consumers and businesses billions of dollars on our power bills, and at the same time, steer the state of Florida towards a healthier, clean energy future. Energy efficiency is the cheapest, fastest, and safest way to meet Florida's electricity needs. The cost of coal, gas, and nuclear power is going up, while the price of solar power and efficiency programs keep going down. Duke Energy, Tampa Electric Company, and Florida Power and Light can give consumers a break by investing in energy efficiency, which saves consumers money and protects our health. Energy efficiency saving consumers money and supporting Florida's economy. Now, does that sound worthwhile to you? Okay, well, there's more. This year, the Florida Public Service Commission will set new standards for energy efficiency for the next 10 years under the Florida Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. This process presents immensely lower bill, job growth, and environmental companies are investing flag way behind us. Florida electric utilities have now submitted their request to the public service. And that their proposed energy goals are unprecedented above. We want to eliminate solar power. This means higher energy bills for ratepayers and pollution from new unnecessary power plants. The Public Service Commission needs to hear from us. We ask public hearing. We ask you to come here, Pinellas County, or somewhere else in Florida, hold a public hearing. They said, no. They're isolated in Tallahassee, comfortable to be there. They said no. Here's a direct quote from the chair of the Public Service Commission. Quote, given the technical nature of this goal-setting procedure and no legislative directive to take public testimony, I do not find it necessary to hold a public hearing. Persons without the resources to intervene may file written comments in the docket. We are here tonight at the citizens' hearing to make sure that all of our voices are heard. There is a court reporter present who will be recording our comments. We will have some experts testify and then hear from the public so that all of you can let the commission know that you want energy savings, protect our health, and lower our bills. This is your hearing, and we encourage you to provide your comments tonight. Now I would like to introduce three of Florida's top advocates and organizers who are here with us. First is Julia Hathaway. Julia, raise your hand. Julia is Sierra Club's representative who served as the first organizer for the Sunshine State Clean Energy Coalition and helped to coordinate tonight's event. The other coordinator of the hearing tonight is Sierra Club Conservation Organizer Britton Cleveland. Britton, are you there? And finally, I would like to turn the microphone over to the third person, Tim Heberlein, the political director of the Florida Consumer Action Network, one of the co-founders of the Sunshine State Clean Energy Coalition. I am happy to announce that Tim will join Sierra Club staff full-time next week. Tim will serve as our MC for the rest of the program tonight. Tim, take it away.
Thank you very much. Again, welcome. Thank you very much. My name, as Frank mentioned, is Tim Heberlein. I'm the political director of the Florida Consumer Action Network, and I'll be your MC for tonight. And just before we get started, I want to lay out some ground rules. We'll have some expert testimony, as Frank mentioned, as well as receive public comment. Please, when you're making your statements, please direct them as if the PSC or to the commission report, because we will be submitting these to the official record on the 21st in Tallahassee when the PSC has their hearing. So, as Frank mentioned, why are we here? The Sunshine State Clean Energy Coalition believes that your voices need to be heard. So thank you very much for coming. The PSC didn't think this was necessary, but by your presence here, obviously they're wrong. This is an important issue, and I'm so glad to be part of the team. Again, your comments are being recorded, so please, when you approach the microphone, please state your name, your address, and make your comments. So first, I have some notes here. Well, first, I want to recognize some of the elected officials in the room, and thank you very much for being advocates for the coalition as well as clean energy solutions here in Florida. First is Representative Dwight Dudley. Councilmember. Yes, County Commissioner Ken Lopes. City of Seminole Councilor Patty Cladamiro. City of Gulfport City Council Member Yolanda Roman. Gulfport Council Member Michael Fridovich. And CFP Harbor Member Andrew Zojo. And I believe two of our speakers, two of our elected officials, would like to make some comments. We're going to limit the comments for the elected officials to 2 minutes. So, first, Representative Dudley.
Good evening. Commission 68, Florida House of Representatives. I just wanted to open here in talking about the legislature and what they're doing on our behalf. And sadly, there's not much happening there because many of the proposals, I guess all the proposals actually, have not been heard. Sadly, offered legislation to reorganize the Public Service Commission because it appears that they seem to favor large utility companies in granting rate hikes every time they ask for them. And this appears to be the case virtually all the time. And we're wondering if there happens to be any connection between the $3.9 million in contributions that were given just in this last session of the legislature, or maybe in the $18 million that were given over the last 8 years to the Florida legislature. We have offered a whole host of variety to consumers, such as truth in billing. In 2006, a law was this advancement through cost recovery. The utilities, particularly Duke, has taken billions of dollars. They promised to build a nuclear plant. They obviously, it's somewhat historic at this point. They ran into quite a bit of trouble, and that was canceled, but they haven't returned the money yet. So we're really wondering when that money's going to come back, but we're not holding our breath. And under the law, they're allowed to continue to take billions of dollars. There's no end in sight. It's ad nauseum, ad infinitum. They just keep taking money. Now, and we refer to this not as that wonky long name, but just the utility tax. So what are we doing in response to that? So we've offered legislation in both the sessions of the legislature I was present to repeal the utility tax. It got no hearing, sadly. Also, the ad valorem tax exemption, a number of people here worked to try to get the repeal of, or to offer an ad valorem tax exemption for businesses that would put renewable and alternative devices on their business. And you would think that's a business-friendly thing to do, so that would be a great thing to do. The majority party and so on leadership would shepherd that through. Well, that didn't happen either. And in fact, it was stopped in committee. It was never heard, and sadly, no change occurred. So, Ruben.
as your local leader, to listen to you, to see what we can enact on the local level. But it's also our responsibility as your local leaders to speak to the Public Service Commission and to tell them what our communities want and need for a clean energy future. So I look forward to hearing your comments tonight and look forward to talking to you more at the end of our program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, and appreciate your comments, both of you, and for advocating for clean energy solutions. So we are going to actually move into a testimony from 3 experts who've been invited to participate today. The first is going to be Susan Glickman. Susan is the Florida Director for the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, and I will see you with Susan.
Thank you very much for that. We have some slides that they brought up. I'm Susan Glickman. I'm the Florida Director of Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, and I was involved in 2009, and of course am currently involved in the 2014 FECA proceeding on behalf of Southern Alliance for Clean Energy and Natural Resources Defense Council. And as I go through a little bit, I'm here to kind of give you the background on what FECA is and what's happening, and what the proposals are, and why they're doing what they're doing. Very good. So we'll go to the first slide. So what is FECA? It's the Florida Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, and in government, people use all kinds of acronyms all the time. So I just wanted to make sure you saw that. Can I have the first slide? Or is there something I'm supposed to do? You know, I actually am not a PowerPoint person, really, because I go on phone things. So anyway, here's a little background. We'll go to the next slide. That just tells you about Southern Alliance Clean Energy. We're an awesome group. So. Anyway, I've started to mention that we were involved in the FECA proceeding 5 years ago, and that's kind of relevant when we get to what the goals are that are proposed and sort of where we sit in 2014 versus 2009. So they set conservation goals every 5 years on a 10-year horizon, and it applies only to the bigger utilities. So those are the 4 investor-owned utilities. 75% of the state of Florida are represented by investor-owned utilities: Tampa Electric, Duke Energy, Gulf Power, and Florida Power and Light, which is the largest. But in FECA, it also includes Orlando Utility Commission, which is what we call a MUNI, and also JEA, the Jacksonville utility as well. The idea of it is to improve efficiency, but as you heard already, and you're going to hear in more detail from me, that's not what's going on. What the problem is the FECA proceeding is part of a disjointed planning process. In most states, they have what's called integrated resource planning, where you put supply and demand on a level playing field. But in Florida, we put up into sort of 3 different parts. We do a need determination when the investor-owned utilities or the big utilities want to build a new power plant. They want to prove that they need that power. And they do that in one proceeding, and then they sort of wrap that proceeding up, and then we go into FECA, where they do everything they can, and you're going to hear more about it, to prove that they can't save any more energy, or they don't need to save any more energy. And then they wrap up that process. And then they do what's called a 10-year site plan. And the 10-year site plan is just merely the utilities writing out what it is they're going to build. And this is where you're going to see the conflict between these things, because they're arguing on one hand that they don't want to, or they can't save energy. On the other hand, they've got 4 or 5 gigawatts in their 10-year site plan to build new energy. And just about a month ago, the Florida Cabinet, Rick Scott and his friends on the Florida Cabinet, just certified a 2,200 megawatt nuclear power plant to be built accounting for 1 foot of sea level rise in Homestead, Florida. 2,200 megawatts of the most expensive power possible. As my friend Peter Bradford, a former nuclear regulatory commissioner, says, you do not solve world hunger with caviar. And that's what they're doing, and they're leaving the energy efficiency on the table. So next slide. So this is what we call a levelized cost slide, and I'm not going to go into it, but unless you don't see well, and I would include me, you can see where energy efficiency is the cheapest. Why would we not be meeting our need with the cheapest thing possible? And by the time I'm finished here, you're going to actually understand what's behind the curtain and why. So next slide. 20 states have energy efficiency standards. People are probably more familiar with what they call RPS, or Renewable Portfolio Standard. Whether you have a Renewable Portfolio Standard or target for energy efficiency, that's just what they are, they're targets. So 20 states have those. We have a color because we're supposed to propose goals, we just don't do it. That's the process that we're in now. So next slide. But Florida lags behind other states. So there are 20 states that get 1% or 1.5%. So in the 2009 proceeding, we were in that proceeding asking for the utility to save 1%. That's 1% of annual savings each year. So 20 states get a percentage or a percentage and a half. Florida, back in 2005, was at 0.25. Okay, so 20 states get a percent, we're at 0.25, and we moved the needle about 0.1% to 0.35, and of course then they got rid of all the commissioners that did that. We'll talk a little bit about that. So you can see what other states are doing. That was the point at which 4 of the commissioners that Charlie Christian put on exited stage left, and Scott's folks came in on stage left. So the next slide. This is a chart of what the utilities are proposing, so you can understand the scale of what they're proposing. So Florida Power Line, which is the worst, they're my favorite, they cover half the states, so let's talk about that. So they are proposing goals that are 99% less than the already anemic goals in 2009. So when we moved the needle from 0.25 to 0.35 in 2009, TECO, Gulf Power, Orlando, and JE went off and they did their program plans. You set the goal, then you come back and get your program approved, and you go off and you do your program. So they actually were good actors given them. Florida Power and Light and Duke covered half the state, 2 biggest utilities. They rescheduled their program plan, 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 and lo and behold, 4 of the commissioners were ushered out, and the new commission set aside the penalties. So half the state is operating off 10-year-old goals. And I was wondering if anyone brought their rotary phone tonight. I mean, it is really the technological equivalent of that. So TECO is asking for goals 80% less than 5 years ago. Does everyone understand that? If you take nothing home, you need to understand the scale of how, it's not even just how little, to want to do a 99% less than we did 5 years ago in a technological arena is absolutely just unforgivable. But that's the scale of how that. So next slide, and this is just a good slide where you can see where we rank: Florida Power and Light, Duke, Gulf Power, Jacksonville, Tampa Electric, and Florida Public Utilities, which sends to a bunch of the munis. So Florida Power and Light is the winner at 107. And you wouldn't know that if you were in Florida Power and Light. Every time you turn on the television, you would see a television ad talking about how fabulous Florida Power and Light is. And the interesting part is Florida Power and Light's parent company, NextEra Resources, is the biggest wind energy producer and the biggest solar producer in the country. So they compete in 28 states. They don't compete here. And why should they compete here? Because they've got the sweetheart deal of the century. They are monopolies. Next slide. So this is the why part. This is the part where I pull back the curtain. Current utility regulation incentivizes building power plants we don't need. They are not just like waiters in a restaurant. They are like waiters in a country club where they get a guaranteed tip or a table of 8 or whatever. So the more you spend, the more they make. They want to sell you that bottle of wine and that dessert, right? Because they're going to make more money. Why did they want to build nukes? There's some people in this room who started, like myself, in 2005 fighting coal-fired power plant proposals. They want to move major assets into their rate base, because the more they do, the more they spend. They don't want to help use less energy because they don't make money that way any more than McDonald's doesn't want to sell less burgers, right? So they tried coal-fired power plants. At one point, there were 7 coal-fired power plant proposals. If we had a couple more hours, I'd share some of those funny stories. We would be here for that. But anyway, then they moved on to the nukes. So that came out of the 2004 and 5 hurricane season. It was all about diversifying our fuel mix because we're very reliant on natural gas. So the more they spend, the more they make. This is a report that happened in January of last year. The Edison Electric Institute is the mouthpiece for investment utilities. And they wrote the report, Disruptive Challenges, Financial Implications, and Strategic Responses to a Changing Retail Electric Business. Their business model is crumbling. It might have made sense when the system was set up that they made money selling electricity. In the 21st century, you make money by meeting people's energy need. It's not about selling electricity. So they know their business model's crumbling. Next slide. And to add insult to injury, it mentioned earlier jobs. We send $60 billion out of state every year because we don't have any, we very, very, very minimal homegrown energy. So we could keep those dollars here at home. You know, this is a new paradigm. It's energy efficiency and solar power. But remember, too, Tampa Electric owns coal. Florida Power Line's parents company just brought a fracking company that they had an interest in. So they're building Florida Power Line, a new natural gas pipeline. They've got 3 new natural gas plants in the hopper. Duke's trying to build 2 more natural gas plants at Crystal River. So next slide. This is, and the utilities know this. This just talks about, this was actually a survey of utilities, and they know that distributed generation threatens their business model. Next. And there's a headline really from Barclays, and if you sort of Google this, when the report came out, I think it was the Wall Street Journal that coined the term death spiral about the business model. So utilities know it too. They're doing everything they can to squash it. That's what FECA is about, that's what building these plants are about, and that's what building the pipeline is about. And the next thing we are likely to see is an attack on net metering. So who was talking about having solar? Frank was talking about having solar and net metering it back onto the grid. Again, that's another whole session. So I'm going to sort of wrap up here with 2 things. Now here's the why of the why. Next slide. The why of the why is the money. So I just finished my 27th session. I've been in Tallahassee a lot over the years, and it doesn't matter whether we're talking insurance or the tobacco companies or whatever, it's all the same thing. It's a very, very money-driven process. It's more important than ever because on June 2nd, the EPA has come down with carbon pollution limits for the first time ever. And Florida has to reduce our carbon by 38%, and there are 4 building blocks to do that. And the cheapest one, so it's even more important, and this is now in Governor Rick Scott's court, because the federal government sets the limits, and then each state does a state implementation plan. So it's our governor and our State Department of Environmental Protection that are going to be making those decisions. So even more important than ever. Next slide. The politicians are out of step with the public. So there's some research done by the Natural Resources Defense Council very recently, and it shows that Floridians, and they do this because they believe we have a moral obligation to future generations to limit carbon pollution, and they support limiting carbon pollution. And Governor Rick Scott has yet to answer, and he has been asked on numerous occasions already, and your homework assignment is every single person here needs to ask Governor Rick Scott in some way, what is your plan for dealing with climate change, and what is your plan for meeting the carbon limits, because it's now in his court. So next slide. And we have a website, and everybody is involved in it. It's sort of an unbranded campaign, so whatever organization you're a part of in your church, send them to this website. We've probably got about 60,000 or so petitions so far, and we'll be delivering those together. What's your plan, Gov? So with that, I'm going to listen to everybody tonight. I'm going to hang out and talk to folks, and if people want to get involved, there's absolutely no justification. There is no excuse for what's going on. It is everything that you think is bad about politics happens in the legislature and is happening at the Public Service Commission. And the commission are afraid they'll lose their jobs if they don't do what the utilities tell them to do. And it's quite striking. But I so appreciate everybody giving them their time this evening and being out here, because we're not going to change things unless we do it together.
Thank you very much, Susan. Going next, expert testimony from Lorraine Ross, who is the president of Intech Consulting, which is a company that works on energy efficiency, to consult to other companies on energy efficiency. So, Lorraine.
Hi everyone. Susan's a hard act to follow, I'll say that. Although I did tell Kelly I do get a little wound up when we start talking about renewable energy. So thanks very much for the invitation to come here tonight. I think it's really a super important decision that we have to make, right, as citizens of the state to get involved. I was going to end with this little story, but I think I'm going to begin with it after what Susan has said. Just about 2 weeks ago, I have an aunt who lives in Pennsylvania. She's 87 years old. And she was talking about her bucket list. Okay? And she was talking about what she wanted to do yet in her life and what she wanted to see. And she said she never saw the Liberty Bell. So I took her. And, you know, I haven't been there in 30 years. and there's the Constitution Center there. And I was going to pull this out at the end of my talk. And this is what it's all about. I think the word starts something like this. We the people, right, are supposed to let people know. We're supposed to let elected officials know. We're supposed to tell people what our views are on this. And when we're shut out of the process, trust me, bad things happen. I really want to talk today about renewable energy, part of this presentation and this problem that we're facing here in the state. Really, I'm here as a proud citizen of the city of Gulfport. I love it. I'm very progressive, and it's a great place to be. But I also want to share my experiences of 30 plus years working in energy efficiency, and in the last 17 years on renewable energy systems and products. Go to the next slide, please. I'm a tech head. Okay? I'm a chemist. I'm a biochemist. I've been working in the technical arena my entire life. Some of you may remember the Jim Walter Research Center over on 9th Street. I was president of that organization before that was sold off. But I'm data-driven. So how do I approach this? I usually look at facts. So where do I find facts? You can look at the U.S. Energy Information Administration, and it's an easy website to look at, eia.gov. And there will be on there like a 12-page profile of every state in the country. And what do you see there? You see renewable energy in 2013 accounts for only 2.2% of the electricity generated in our state. I'm also a Florida building code trainer. I'm certified by the Florida Building Commission. And I've been doing classes on the Florida Energy Code forever. And even back 12 years ago, the number was 3%. We're going backwards. It's hard. It's just hard to imagine. The second part, we have Florida's retail electricity sales to the residential sector, second in the nation after Texas. So we need to hear that. Oh, we have really low rates. Yeah, we may have low rates. We're paying a lot of money in utility bills. There's a big difference between the rate and what your consumption is in your home. Electricity accounts for 90% of the site energy consumed by Florida households, and this is a real killer. In Florida, the annual electricity expenditure of $1,900, 40% higher than the national average, than the U.S. national average. This is all data. This is all collected data. This isn't opinion. The next slide, please. Florida has no statewide, as Susan pointed out, we have no statewide renewable energy portfolio requirements. Many other states do. They set those goals, they actually do, and we talk about them a lot. Net metering is allowed up to an annual cap, and that's a pretty small cap for qualifying customer sites. So if you want to put solar on your roofs, there's a little bit of net metering that's allowed. And word on the street is that next year, the utilities are having a strong push to get rid of it altogether. What does net metering do? It means that your meter would be running backwards, right? So you're actually selling some electricity back, the excess electricity back to the utilities. They don't want to take that anymore. They can sell to you, but you can't sell back to them. The state requirements do vary. Next slide, please. And this is the part that really, kind of got me. Ivan Williams, God bless him, he's here, and the fantastic job that he's doing in reporting the facts, about the situation. Back in December of last year, I'll say the same thing, I can't get past that. But one of the PSC commissioners, who's been on the commission, appointed by Governor Bush, reappointed by Governor Press, reappointed by Governor Scott, said just last year, Florida wants more solar, but we just can't figure it out. I'm serious. She said it. And I find this very strange. That has an amazing amount of resources. Florida has, in 1975, they established the Florida Solar Energy Center. I have worked with folks over there since 1984. And really, in the 1985-89 period, they set up a certification program for photovoltaics. That's 30 years ago. Okay, so I'm familiar because I work nationwide. I'm familiar that companies that are developing solar products, that are developing solar systems, they come to the Florida Solar Energy Center to get their certifications, and all of those products that they certify are being used in other states, largely, not here. They have, we have a Florida Building Code, the Energy Code, the Fire Code. I participated in the development of the Florida Building Code, in the Florida Building Commission on some of their technical committees. And everything's already in the code. It's not like there's some kind of code barrier. It's all there. You know, there are products that are out there, and believe me, I'm not here to promote any particular product or system, but I will point this one out. This is a solar shingle, and this is like an asphalt shingle. It installs on your roof, and this particular product, as most others, they meet the wind rating system requirements even in Miami-Dade. And I know this because I was part of the team that got those approvals done. So I know that we have the expertise to do it. So how can someone say we can't figure it out is, you know, beyond me. Go to the next slide, please. The other thing we could look to, you know, have we ever thought about talking to other states and how they're doing it? You know, Susan had out there Desire, right? It's another great website. You can get more information there and spend hours on your iPad, you know, up till 5 a.m. Take a look at the stuff on there, seriously. But on there, you know, there's information about rebates. When you start looking through that, you look through, yeah, there's plenty of incentives and plenty of rebates. Except guess what? All the utility rebates are fully subscribed, no longer available to you, right? Because the amount is so small. Next slide, please. This is the part. Solar energy is not an experiment. We get this idea. I mean, I heard the CEO of one of the utility companies talk about, well, Florida has intermittent clouds. True? True story? True? Where's Ivan? I know. He said it. Well, New York and New Jersey have, and they are actually exceeding Florida by leaps and bounds in terms of the growth of renewable energy. And I know this because I travel throughout the country on this. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse except the political excuse. So I'll end with one slide here. I'm just laying out some facts for you. You know, I'm not here. I'm here as a technical person. I'm not here as to talk politics. Although I did spend 3 years as a federal lobbyist and decided I could never deal with that ever again. But it's a tough business. It's a tough business. But we have to get involved in it. The PSC, the facts are there. I mean, they really are. And to shut off conversation should be taken as, you know, such an insult. Really, right? Such an insult and a slap to our own integrity, you know, our own intelligence. You know, we're not smart enough to figure it out. We're not smart enough to have good comments. And I think that's just a shame. So I'm going to ask you, I know people, you know, have been asking things of you, you know, contact other stuff, absolutely. What I want you to do is I want you to contact 20 other people because this room needs to be filled, right? And we need to get a lot more people involved in this. And you know, please remember, you know, it is we the people. It really is. And the last thing I'll ask you to do is to make sure in November that you vote and get your friends and family to do so.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ralston, for that testimony. Next up is going to be Kelly Martin. Kelly is a senior Beyond Coal campaign representative for the Sierra Club.
Good evening, folks. We are moving into the public testimony portion of the evening. So I'm going to kick us off. My name is Kelly Martin, and I'm the senior campaign representative with the Sierra Club, Beyond Coal campaign. I'm here tonight to ask the Public Service Commission to set much, much higher energy savings goals than the ones that the big power companies have proposed. Because saving energy through efficiency is the cheapest, fastest, and safest way to meet Florida's electricity needs. There's a huge opportunity here in Florida to save more energy and more money starting right now in 2014. Simple things, simple programs can go a really long way. Compact fluorescent light bulbs, modern appliances that use less electricity, energy audits, and good insulation so that air conditioning cools the inside of our homes and not the outside. And through setting strong goals, the Commission should hold the big power companies accountable for helping all customers install these efficiency measures and gain the benefits of lower power bills. And the benefits of energy efficiency investments go far beyond low power bills. They help create local jobs. If the big utilities in Florida were to match the industry standard for investments in energy efficiency, that 1% of the previous year's retail sales that a lot of states, more than half the states nationwide, are hitting, we would create here in Florida 900 jobs in the first year alone, and consumers would save $10 million on their electric bills over the life of these energy efficiency programs. But instead, Florida's power companies have proposed dramatic, unprecedented reductions from the modest annual energy savings that they currently achieve. That's a giant step backwards, and it means higher power bills, economic stagnation, and dirty air. And the low goals proposed by the power companies are unwise because they fail to look ahead and to acknowledge that saving energy can help avoid expensive new power plants and expensive pollution controls for the old plants. So just recently, as you've heard, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has announced historic carbon pollution standards. And they will require that we reduce our emissions in every state. And part of that includes a 1.5% annual energy savings, energy efficiency savings, related, which is relative to sales by 2020. And it is in every state, including Florida. And the utilities goals that they propose right now in this energy savings proceeding, also known as feedback, are nowhere near this standard. And so that means that they're failing to capture the savings for people's bills. And they are also, how on earth is Florida going to meet the carbon pollution standards if they're not maximizing investments in energy efficiency? That's the cheapest, that's the fastest, and that's the safest way to reduce our emissions. So let's be clear, Florida ranks 27th in the country on energy efficiency. North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, all the other states where Duke Energy operates are all achieving much, much higher energy savings every year. Even Arkansas is achieving much higher energy savings every year. And here's one reason why. So when the utilities propose the goals, they look at what's cost effective, which makes sense. But what happens is they're using a really flawed analysis to look at cost effectiveness. Nearly every state in the country has rejected the analysis that Florida companies are using. It's called the Rate Impact Measure Test and the 2-year payback provision. And what these are is they're very limiting. They're really narrow ways to look at whether a particular energy efficiency measure is in the consumer's interest. And as a result, Florida companies are missing out on most of the great energy efficiency programs that are working all over the country to reduce bills, reduce pollution, and protect our interests. All right, so I'm going to try out an analogy here, and I think it's kind of like this to describe this cost effectiveness, so-called cost effectiveness test. So pretend for a minute that you're at a breakfast buffet, and you want to have a big fruit salad for breakfast, right? You want it to be full of delicious fruits that are chock full of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that are good for your health, right? And then you go up to the buffet, and it's got this weird section where only the blueberries are available. And all the other fruits are like behind a glass cage that you can't get to. And then somewhere along the way you learn that maybe a pork company backs the restaurant. You start to think that might be weird. And then you see that your only option for this big healthy fruit salad that you want is these expensive blueberries. The watermelon, oranges, peaches, raspberries, grapefruits, they're all off limits, right? So what was going to be your big healthy fruit salad is limited to a boring, narrow option of blueberries that are more expensive than the other fruit. And then slowly the bacon starts to look pretty good. And the waffles look pretty good. And your pathetic blueberries aren't even looking very appetizing or cheap anymore, so why even bother? And so this little silly rule about what kind of fruit you can have means that you've ended up with a meal that has no vitamins, no minerals, little nutrition, and leaves all these delicious and lovely options left on the table. And that's how this screen works for the utility, is what they're looking at. It's an arbitrary rule. It limits the options that allow us to make the best choices for energy efficiency. It leaves awesome energy efficiency and solar programs on the table that consumers in Florida can't take advantage of. And it makes the options, much like the bacon and the waffles, it makes the option to build new, expensive, polluting power plants much more palatable. They all of a sudden look like better options than energy efficiency. And it skews the results toward options that make more money for shareholders and less options available that save money for consumers and protect our health. So I asked the Public Service Commission to please leave behind this flawed test that the utilities use and allow customers better choices for energy savings, like it's happening all over the country. Because I'll close with this. So I'm a mom, probably like many of you in the room. And I like to make sure my kids eat the healthy fruits and vegetables, as you might have tell from my analogy. But I have 3 small children. And worrying about their future and what the future looks like really, quite literally, keeps me up at night. We're already feeling the impacts of climate disruption, from superstorms and severe temperatures to droughts out west and eroding beaches. Climate change is on our doorstep. And power plants are the largest source of carbon pollution that's causing climate change. This commission, right now, this summer, has an opportunity to set easy, high goals for the utilities for energy savings. It's the cheapest way, the easiest way to reduce our reliance on dangerous and polluting fossil fuels, to reduce our carbon emissions, to mitigate the worst impacts of climate change. Because our window to act on climate is closing. We are the last generation of people that can act. By the time that my 3 and are my age, our window to act on climate will have closed. So I ask the Commission to please hear our call for more energy savings and set these high goals for energy efficiency that are on par with nationwide standards, to expand these narrow tests that utilities use to calculate what programs are cost effective, and to protect and expand the solar pilot programs. And by doing so, the Commission will help protect clean air and clean water and create jobs in the clean energy economy, save millions of dollars for our consumers. So thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Just real quick before we go into public comment, I wanted to just address 2 things, or 1 thing really quick. Everyone who came in this afternoon and got a program, there are 2 very important things that we'd like you to do in that program. The first is there's a card here which has the declaration, here's a letter to the commissioner. Please read it over and please sign it, and please return it to the individuals at the desk when you first came in, check-in desk. The other thing I'd like to mention is this, after this, on the 21st, as before mentioned, the PSC will be having their public hearing on the 21st in Tallahassee, and we'd like to get as many people there as soon as possible. So if you're able to go, we'll have folks walk around with clipboards, and please sign up. We have them waiting right here. Please make sure you sign up if you're able to go. It'll be very exciting and fun event. So that being said, we did invite Florida power companies to join us tonight, but they politely declined us.
Actually, we're all here.
Oh, well, hey, look who we have here. It's Mr. Marsoji. Oh, and Lynn Batt from Duke Energy. Thank you very much. Glad you could make it. Hold on, Linda. You need to make sure that your mic is hooked up. We want to get every word you're saying.
Can you hear me
There
now?
we go.
I am so glad to be here because I am Lynn Bagg from Duke Energy. And I want to just correct the record because we are really a financially responsible company that has a long record of wonderful customer service. Let me just address the issue about energy savings. You know, everyone's asking for these sweeping arguments for policy changes on this renewable energy demand-side management. And I have to tell you, these goals for energy efficiency are unrealistic. We have a good record already. And look how the building codes have been improved. Look how energy efficient appliances are available. We've made so much progress already. We really don't feel the need to go any further because we've done such a good job in the past. And may I add that we've been very responsible financially to our shareholders. Duke is a very strong financial company. But let me go on to the solar aspect. Everybody's talking about solar, solar, solar. Well, guess what? We tried the solar thing, you know? We tried that rooftop solar thing, and it just didn't work. I mean, we analyzed it, and we just didn't find that there was anything that was really available for that. And it really wasn't very cost effective. You know, our financial analysts look at the numbers, and it really just didn't crunch for us. You know, we're in the business of the ratepayer exchange. You know, we have to do it by the numbers. This is accounting. This is money. We're talking about being responsible here. We just can't make these sweeping allegations that some of our environmental friends would make, because in the real world, you have to deal with real solutions. And Duke Energy is proud to say that we've made great decisions, and we hope to continue to do that. You really don't have to worry about public participation. We're taking care of it. Not to worry. Public participation, you don't need to be there. It's so technical, and our analysts have already run the numbers. We're good. We really know what we're doing. Feel confident in our efforts. Thank you so much.
Yes, I would. Hi, I'm Bill Thompson from Florida Power and Light. Florida Power and Loot, should I say. My friends call me Fat Cat. You call me that. And lady, I gotta say, you lost me with that fruit breakfast thing there. I had to brace myself. I don't know about that. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak and to correct the vast amount of misinformation that you've heard this evening. First of all, let me state that this public hearing is unnecessary. The issues under discussion here will be appropriately determined by a formal review of various economic analysis by people like me, who have expertise in this difficult, complex issues that are at hand. Any person with a substantial interest in this goal-setting case may petition to intervene, as did Sierra Club and Southern Alliance for Clean Energy. Since their work is intended to represent the interests of their members, and you all here must be at least loosely affiliated with these organizations, these proceedings are redundant, and you're all free to go now. You're still here. Oh, very well. For the sake of public education, I will address the issues raised for the purpose of correcting the misinformation that is so contrary to the public interest. Florida Power and Loot wants you to know that we have done all we can to help consumers and businesses save on energy costs. FP&L achieved 214 gigawatt savings in 2013. Isn't that wonderful? And we have now finished the job. Our request to the Public Service Commission is to let us reduce energy savings programs by 99% next year. That's right. We want the Public Service Commission to approve an energy savings goal for the next year that is 100 times smaller than it was in 2013. Mission accomplished. No need for FP&L to make any more investments in energy efficiency. We're very proud. FP&L also wants to point out that our top priority is to build the Turkey Point nuclear facility. It will cost 3 times as much kilowatt hours as energy efficiency, but consider that means that much more money for our shareholders. FP&L's long-range planning for energy savings assumes that Turkey Point will be built. We are not going to analyze the impact that strong energy savings programs could have to reduce or eliminate the need for more power plants. We're not even going to go there. Yes, we know that energy efficiency saves consumers money when they lose less energy, but building new power plants guarantees FP&L and our investors a bigger profit. That's the bottom line, and it needs to be the bottom line for the Public Service Commission too. Now, some have noted such so-called benefits of energy efficiency as improved health and safety, increased comfort, and reduced cost to participants in our programs. All of these alleged benefits, if they do in fact exist, are external to the traditional rate-making and jurisdictional bounds, and therefore are completely irrelevant. Some people are saying that we should set higher goals for energy savings to create jobs and lower bills. But there is nothing wrong with our proposed reductions. Their criticisms are unfounded, and their recommendations are inappropriate, unnecessary, contrary to Florida statutes and rules, and not adequately substantiated by the evidence presented. Folks, it doesn't matter that utilities in half the states in the country are reaching energy savings that are 1% of the previous year's retail sales. We can't do that. But we can reach 0.01%. That's our pledge to you, the ratepayer. Let's talk about solar power. Some have made statements that FP&L is opposed to solar power generation through photovoltaics. Nothing could be further than the truth. This is a form of energy generation that FP&L has long been an industry leader in. Certain caveats do apply in order for this technology to be applied in a responsible manner, and it is a matter that the Public Service Commission and Florida Power and Loot are addressing in an intensive manner, so you need not worry. To let the solar pilot programs expire at the end of this year and have proposed a goal of 0 for renewable energy systems should not be construed to mean that we aren't following the rules. In fact, we've looked at that. And it can be appropriate and consistent with the Florida Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act to propose a goal level of 0 for demand-side renewable energy systems. It is not only permissible, it is preferred when programs are not cost-effective, as is the case here in Florida. A goal level of 0 would best protect our shareholders, to whom we must meet our essential fiduciary responsibility. That is job 1 for Florida Power and Loot. Thank you. I hope I've cleared up this information that you've heard tonight. You may all go home now. There's really nothing else to say.
Thank you, Mr. Florida Power and Loot. You bear a striking resemblance to somebody I know. So we're actually going to go on to the public. So I'm glad you stayed. Didn't listen to him, but I'm glad you stayed. And we're actually going to move into the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. So again, with the ground rules, please approach the microphones. We have 2 here in the front, and we ask you to state your name, state an organization if appropriate. And please speak clearly, as Michelle, our great court reporter, is going to be recording your comments for introduction to the record when we introduce them on the 21st in Tallahassee. So we have a couple folks who wanted to sit up here. Oh, the other thing is we'll be keeping time, and everyone will be allotted 2 minutes just for time's sake. And we actually have the gentleman here with the USA shirt on, Go USA. We'll mark your time at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then stop. And for the sake of everyone here, we're going to gladly ask that you do conclude your comments at the time. So we have somebody, would you like to speak? All right.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Reverend Andy Bell. I'm a licensed psychotherapist here in St. Petersburg, and I come here tonight as a representative of Sunshine State Interfaith Power Light. We've been told that these issues are far too complex for us mere public folks to understand. There are certain things that I understand that I want to try to address them very quickly tonight. I understand that our governor may say that he doesn't get it. I understand that. He's being told that it's too complex even for him to understand. But what I do understand is this. I am one of those many, many people in the state who suffer with asthma. I am thrilled that my asthma doctor Dr. Monamonga is here this evening, is becoming much more educated on these issues, and I know that she is willing to advocate as well. I understand that when energy is produced, we need energy, we do, but when it's produced in a way that causes toxins to flow into the atmosphere, it causes our children to be sick. It causes our elderly to be sick. I also understand that the solar photovoltaic panels that are on my house work well. I understand that at my home, we haven't paid a power bill to do work progress in over 2 years. I get that. I also understand solar works. I understand energy efficiency works. I understand energy efficiency is the least expensive option for so many people. I want to sum up by telling you about Martha. Martha is a woman who has come to Lakewood United Methodist Church, where my counseling center is. Martha comes in and she asks for assistance with power bills. 2 months worth of power bills that total over $650. Martha is a single grandmother raising 2 children with no possible way to ever pay those bills. She lives in a sieve, living in her home. She's actually a homeowner. Her home was built in the 1950s, typical block style. She tries to air condition. It's like trying to air condition a sieve. And I understand also that a few $100s worth of energy efficiency programs, savings, would go a long way in probably cutting that bill at least in half, along with some good energy conservation education. Martha is one of many. Amen. Martha is one of many. Every church, every synagogue, every mosque, every house of faith, every social welfare organization in Florida is deluged with people just like Martha every year. We need to call on the Public Service Commission to actually step up to help our brothers and sisters who can have affordable air conditioning in their homes, who can have affordable power. And we need the Public Service Commission, at our request, to stand up to help them. We have to do this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maria Jose Hayes. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I'm here to speak to the PSC. Yes. I may not be a financial analyst, but what I do understand is that under the state law, the PSC must ensure our electrical costs are as low as possible. And currently, we are ranked 9th in the country, but that is slowly changing due to increasing temperatures here in Florida. I remember last summer, and I am not one to get overheated. I actually like it to be 75 degrees and I'm comfortable. Below that, I actually feel cold. So in my home, I have the thermostat set around 78 to 80, and I like to keep it that way because it's energy efficient and my electric bills are low. But this year, I have noticed because of the increased warming, my AC is constantly running. I am a single mother of 2 children on a single income. I don't receive any help. So for me, utility bills matter to me. Just like I pay my rent, just like I pay my car insurance, utility bills are slowly rising. And that means less money for investing in my children, less money for them to go to after-school programs, less money for clothing, deciding whether to pay the bills or to opt out of paying medical costs and things like that. So that's a huge concern for me. The other thing is that fossil fuel and nuclear power is expensive and harmful to our environment. While solar power is inexpensive, and we have an abundance here in Florida. We are the Sunshine State. And like the other gentleman that spoke, I suffer from chronic allergies and respiratory issues, and so does my eldest daughter. And this Last spring, we had a ridiculous high pollen count. It made me so sick. I could not function, even to the point where I broke out into hives for several days. I just couldn't get rid of them. This affects us. It affects us financially. It affects our health. So, in conclusion, we need financial, efficient, renewable goals here in the state of Florida. We can't afford this anymore, and it's just not sustainable. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Cosentino. I'm with a small public interest think tank called Camelot, Florida. Our mission goal is for the first equality of life, standards of living. And we have put together a program 12 years ago at the University of South Florida, Clean Energy, where we saved, or put a team together to save the French and Trail Bridge. And then we were going to put solar alternative panels on the bridge. Well, that didn't work, and for a lot of reasons, but history repeats itself. So we're back again, the bridge is there, but we're smarter this time because we want to put solar alternative panels not only on the French and Trail Bridge, not only on the 2 other bridges on Gandy, but all the bridges in Florida, but all the bridges in Tampa Bay. So words are good. It's called talk to talk, and it's a wonderful talk to talk tonight. But if you really want to do something, an actionable item, something where it gets done, and we're working together to get it done. Look at the 4th of July as independence from these 4 power companies. Okay, so we're looking at the 4th of July. We're independent of these people who take control. And we can indeed put solar alternative panels on these 8 bridges we have. We could be solar day, okay? And that could work. And we all have to pull together to make it work. And we're asking for your help tonight to make it work. We can generate upwards of 100 megawatts of solar panels. We call it mega solar watts, okay? And instead of megawatts, give it what it is. Explain how the watts were generated. The other thing in our production of energy, you can all buy solar alternative panels and then join the co-op. And then we can install more panels on the bridges. There's a lot more to it. They have a website. Thank you very much. And thank all of you.
There we go. Hey, everybody. My name is Mike Anta. I'm the executive director of a group called the Florida Alliance for Renewable Energy. I'll be real quick. We just want to hopefully use this forum to convey one message to the Public Service Commission. That message is simply that the eyes of the state are on this process. The eyes of the state are on the Public Service Commission and the folks that are up there making decisions on our behalf. I've traveled all around, probably to every city in the state. Energy. We're a trade association. We essentially represent the solar businesses, renewable energy businesses in the state. I can tell you that just like the folks of you that are in this room tonight, there are pockets all across the state. People are very serious about taking control and taking renewable energy a little bit more serious than some of our decision makers are. Right now, we can tell you that firsthand there is this drumbeat. There's this slow and steady drumbeat, and every time another nuclear power plant gets commissioned, the drum beats a little louder. Every time $1 million flows into the coffers of whoever's campaigning, so on and so forth from the utilities, the drum beats a little louder. Every time the public is denied input in a process where of all times the public should have input in that process, the drum beats a little louder. And I can tell you without question, if the Public Service Commission doesn't take their obligations to the public serious, the citizens and the public and the residents in the state of Florida are going to take it upon themselves to take control of the change. So thank you. I just want to say to everybody that's here, awesome, congratulations. Love the blueberry analogy. For those of you, this is great to have this many officials, Representative Lovey, and all the commissioners here. Seriously, fantastic. Great job to
My name is Jim Sharp. I live at 8705 Cove Court in Tampa.
Yes, the other side of the bay. Thank you very much to the commissioners for allowing me to speak. First, I'd like to solve Ms. Ross's question about why is it so hard to do solar energy in Florida. And the best statement is someone who once said, it's really difficult to get somebody to understand something when his salary depends on not understanding it. I'd like to know the floor of my condominium is 9 feet above sea level. How many people, how many people in this room have a floor level within the first, say, 20 feet above sea level? Just for the record, I would just say that over half the hands of the people in this room indicate they live at or near sea level, and all it's going to take is one storm surge to wipe us out. This state, Florida, is right at the edge of survivability, and any more global warming is going to put us literally underwater. And we've got to do everything we can to make this work, to make energy conservation and renewable energy sources work. Basically, we've got to get away from fossil fuels, and we've got to do it now. I'd like to ask everybody in this room to commit to going to Tallahassee, whether it's on the bus or in a private transportation. If the bus is overfull, I'll take 4 people in my Prius. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in Tallahassee.
My name is Gerald Golan. It's Geraldgoen. Janet and I live at 1104 Clippers Way in Tarpon Springs. We've lived there for 20 years. We are no longer Hoosiers. We are Floridians. Our burial sites are in this county. I don't say that lightly. Let's get serious for a moment. There are 20 solar panels currently sitting on a wastewater plant in Tarpon Springs as a $50,000 pilot project that is 1 year old. It is working. If you are accepting any kind of exhibits tonight, exhibit number 1 about that project. There is article after article after article appearing in the news to tell us that solar saves money. Scientists recently told us in May of this year that Tampa Bay is in the crosshairs of climate change. And Senator Nelson called a conference in April of this year because the flooding in Miami Beach streets, the beach erosion, and the saltwater contamination, and you may not know too much about that, are occurring now. The Pinellas County is ready to move on solar and other alternative sources. I won't pretend to speak for that, because Commissioner Welch is here, but he knows about a year ago I wrote him and challenged the county as well as the school system to do everything they could to put everything possible on alternative energy sources for this county. He wrote back, and with your permission, I'll read this sentence. It is possible. Thank you for your letter, Carol. The Commission is moving forward with the RFP and PACE implementation. We are looking forward to moving this initiative forward in collaboration with other citizens and municipal powers. Ken Welch. There is a solar field at the entrance of the Florida Gulf Coast University that is producing 18 to 20% of the university's electrical needs. It is headed by Dr. Joseph Simmons, and he was brought here from Arizona specifically to head the research program there. I have been in contact with him. This is not entirely a political issue, I will momentarily. This is a moral issue. It is a survival issue. It is an issue about what I give to my children, my grandchildren, and as of 4 weeks ago, my great-grandchild. Don't let me have to say, I am sorry, your mother and I left you this mess. My name is Felix Lawada. I came from Orlando. This is important. Glad to see you.
familiar faces. I want to say a few things for the record. When I heard that this was going to the Public Services Commission, they need to think about this very seriously. Let's start first with these talks about civil rights. I've done some calculations, and the bottom line to me is that whether it's 2060 or 2100, the thing is that most of these processes physically unengineered, and you have to put, not that I've been doing these studies, I'm just using other people's data, but basically, if it's an exponential process, you have a catastrophe because you don't see anything really happening until the last 10 years. So this is something to be taken very seriously, especially the calculations I just read. NASA has started in October to fly over Greenland to get better data. So we really need to get on the ball on that really now, right? So in terms of solar, first of all, so I don't get any boring, I did super insulate my house 28 years ago. Okay, I gotta go fast now. So $1.73 was quoted for a solar system here in the area, in the Tampa Bay area. Can you use that number? And nuclear can't even touch solar. On top of that, nuclear gets 40-year amortization. You do 40-year amortization with solar, and you get less than 2 cents a kilowatt hour. Not even gas heat. Okay? So basically, another thing that is the Public Services Commission needs to understand very carefully is stranded costs. When I start getting people off the grid, and then the utility goes to the Public Services Commission more money because they have less customers. Okay? You have stranded costs, you have a big problem. So that's the thing that the Public Services Commission needs to consider very seriously. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Wilson. I'm the president of Windjammer Energy. When I was designing my patent for a new type of wind energy, our governor, Rick Scott, went to see the Koch brothers, and he came back and did away with all the grant money that was in the state hands. And so I've been trying to come up with funding for the last 3 years to get my invention going. It's pretty simple. The sails in the center move, and it pulls a rope. It's just like pulling on a lawnmower. All the high-speed equipment's down in the middle of the base unit, and so it's safe for wildlife and people and birds and all that. Wind turbines kill big birds and lots of birds. And they don't pay for themselves in Florida. That's why I came up with this new kind of invention. To have Florida Power and Light and Duke think they're going to build more nuclear power plants are crazy. I even told the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in Orlando that it was insane to build new nuclear power plants. There is no safe way to store the spent fuel for eternity, which is basically what it comes down to. So I'm going to be a thorn in the side of Florida Power and Light, just like I did for Duke. And I stopped their program at Duke, and I'm going to stop the one at Florida Power and Light. We're going to get away from coal and oil and natural gas, and we're going to go with renewables because that's the future. We're not going to sit around and wait for them to decide for us. When everybody's laying on their deathbed, including the people who own these companies, and they look outside their window and they see the sky is black and the rivers are poisoned and all the animals are dead and the fish are long gone, what are they going to do? They're going to look around and see their family there, their children and their spouses and their grandkids. What are they going to do? Tell them to eat money? That doesn't work. So, I just figured I'd drop that. I'm on Facebook, windjammerenergy.com. I mean, yeah, I got that too. But I have a group and a line page on Facebook.
I'm Kenneth Conklin, 435 62nd Avenue South. We, the CEO of corporations in the United States, in order to form a more profitable business, establish these statutory laws, ensure stockholder tranquility, promote the general profits over environmental welfare, and secure the blessings of lobbyists to ensure our prosperity. Is this the preamble of our Constitution? It starts off with we the people, and it contains promote the general welfare. Each and every appointed and elected official takes an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Now, I'm not here to talk to you about the Constitution. On December 20th, 2010, I was diagnosed with severe asthma. I lived 75% of my life in my bedroom. It is environmentally sealed, HEPA filters, dehumidifiers, humidifiers, and its own air conditioning system. I'm self-employed. I also work in my bedroom. Being self-employed, I don't get sick days. I don't get vacations. So when I don't feel good, I have to get up and work. I'd like you to close your eyes and imagine this. In the middle of the night as you're sleeping, you shoot up from the bed, desperately gasping for air. While gasping, you frantically find your rescue inhaler from the mist. By the time you find it, you're in a full panic, unable to breathe. Even though you have the rescue inhaler in it, you cannot take a deep breath to get the medicine in your lungs. Your panic worsens. Your spouse is trying to help, but again, your airways are blocked. You can't calm down enough to take a deep breath. You hope that you're able to calm down enough to take a deep breath, or else your fingers turn blue and you have to have a paramedic. This is what us asthmatics do.
Greetings. I'm Nancy Ogden, 190 18th Avenue North, St. Petersburg. And thank you for the great presentations this evening. We are happy not to have snow in Florida, but it's critical to our state, our real estate, to preserve the snow in the mountains in the north and in the poles, because Florida was underwater at one time. And think of everything we burn produces CO2. Think of CO2 as a blanket. The more we produce, the thicker it gets, the warmer the earth is going to get. And Florida is heading for that underwater state. I've been documenting the disappearance of palm trees at North Shore Park as sea level rises and comes around the base of the tree. It's happening. The older docks are underwater at high tide. So we have to do something about CO2. We have to get the snow back in the mountains and save our country, our world. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patricia Holmes. I live at 6357 2nd Avenue North, St. Pete. I decided to speak tonight because I've been a tree hugger for most of my life. But I know that I live under an oak tree or shade that somebody else planted. And whenever we talk about trying to save the future, everybody goes, well, that's going to be 2100. I'm not going to be alive then. Well, that means you're not planting oak trees for somebody else to enjoy in the shade. You're not planning for the future of our children, of our grandchildren, of our great-grandchildren. I'm a third-generation Floridian. My son is a fourth-generation Floridian. I'm hoping for a fifth. But the other thing I would say is that I'm very glad about the EPA and putting a limit on carbon. The unfortunate thing is that they have no powers to fine or penalize somebody for not doing it. The other thing I would say is that here in the United States, we call it an ocean surge. In Japan, it's called a tsunami. Now, if you remember what they went through, and that atomic or nuclear power is still polluting the ocean, it's still the people of Fukushima cannot return to their homes. They can go in there 45 minutes every month. They're still looking for bodies of their children, of their parents, of their wives. We don't want this here. This is a beautiful state, and it's up to us to make everyone work to save it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Taylor. I reside at 131 35th Avenue Northeast in St. Petersburg, and I have been born and raised in Pinellas County. I want to start by saying I don't disagree with hardly anything that has been said here tonight, but I do want to add a different twist. With my understanding, the immediate question before the commission is whether or not to relax the energy efficiency
and the coral reefs to sustain, the vegetation a little bit. And as the other gentleman said too, you can look out the window and just sit on your piles of money. Don't think so.
Hello, my name is Dave Kovar, KOV is in Victor They Are. I live in Safety Harbor at 305 Los Prados Drive. I appreciate this is a great event and giving us an opportunity. I'm with the Tampa Bay Clean Air Coalition, Sunshine State Coalition. I've made this speech at dozens of events. It's the same speech that applies to solar power, just like it does to transit, just like it does to health care. And that is, I'm tired of the way that America measures cost. There's a story, where's the person with the blueberries? Bear with me. When someone clear cuts a mountain for its coal, that makes money for the gross domestic product. If they turn around and send those workers into dark pits and they work all day and don't come out for air, that adds money to the GDP. When they burn the dirty coal, that adds money to the GDP. And here's my favorite one. If everybody within 100 miles gets cancer, that adds money to the GDP because we can hire more people in the hospitals, more pills from the pharmacy, and of course more grave diggers and sell more graves in the cemetery. Those are our job creators. We hear again and again that solar doesn't pay, that Germany has to subsidize solar, and that that these other states have said, we know that Germany subsidizes it, and that other states have reached these savings goals that the profit makers dispute. We hear that coal is cheap, that fracking gas is cheap, that nuclear is cheap, but somehow solar power is expensive, and that's because of the way costs are measured. People don't put a cost on cancer. People don't put a cost on pollution. People don't put a cost on the quality of life, and I frankly am sick and tired of it, whether we're talking about transit, whether we're talking about Medicare, whatever. The value of drilling in public parks, national parks, Alaska, it's all the same. We're not measuring costs. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Harrison. I'm the Florida organizer for Gulf Restoration Network, and we are also a member of the coalition. Thanks to everyone for doing everything you did tonight to make this happen. I do this for my grandson, and you can't see it, it's small, but I brought a picture of him tonight. He's 10 years old. He's the only one in our family with asthma. The only one born and raised here in the Tampa Bay area. So it's not genetic. This is causative. But one of the things I want to talk about that hasn't been touched on that you may not realize, the Public Service Commission, by not pushing renewable energy standards, by not pushing energy efficiency, creates a trumped up need, quote unquote, need for new energy plans in this state. It is a manufactured number. And what the result of it, you might not realize that even now, Florida Power and Light, and a company called Spectra Energy, is pushing to build a 300-mile natural gas pipeline called Sable Trail through our springs and rivers, through the Green Swamp, going to Orlando, going to the other coast. Why? Because we have a need which they have created for us. That is why you need to push for energy efficiency standards. The 1% should be happening now and should be happening every year. That is a direction we need to go to create jobs, to make this state a livable place, and to save our water. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Rosemary Gruba. I'm a resident of Brooksville, Florida, in Manor County. I come down here in St. today so that my words can be heard by the Public Service Commission, who doesn't feel that the public has any right to make a comment. I think that the Public Service Commission should remember that its name is Public Service Commission, and that their job is to serve the public and not their own pockets and the greed of the giant power companies in our state. I would exhort them to pay close attention to the new EPA standards and to push very hard for our utility companies in Florida to get in line and also serve their customers. Thank you.
My name is Greg DeCosmo. I live at 1951 Bayou Grand in St. Pete, and that's in the Shore Acres area. So those of you who are local, you know that every water rising, we're the first to know. We live on the water, but when the water rises, we have water from to back. So experience that, and I've got to see St. Petersburg Commission folks here in Mills County because we are on the front line of climate change. We're the first to be affected. And I think that we should be on the front of the lines as far as protesting what's happening in the Public Service Commission. We've got to see if they're going to take the buses to Tallahassee. Plan on being one of the buses. But the other thing I wanted to say is that sometimes Public Service Commission, someone said it, sometimes their job is to not hear because they're being paid to not hear, not to pay attention. And so I'm a big proponent of catching people's attention with nonviolent cooperation and protesting. I just had an idea. I don't know how sound or safe it is, or if it will burst. I need to more sane and experienced persons in the room. But I would think that if on July 19th, the Saturday before, everyone at 4 o'clock in the afternoon turned off their air conditioners, turned off their lights, and if they won't save energy, we'll show them how it's done. And of course, there is safety concerns as far as power outages and stuff. I think that's something that we could do, and to do that in Pinellas County or St. Petersburg, and that might get some attention.
Hi, I'm Julie Kessel. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of the St. Pete area, and I'm speaking on behalf of the League. Our location is in downtown St. Petersburg at 233 North. I'm also a resident of St. Petersburg. The League of Women Voters of Florida and local St. Pete area support state legislation for energy conservation and greater use of renewable sources, such as solar energy. The League encourages the efficient use of energy in the public and private sectors, new construction, and that it commits state funds to achieve those goals. This position is rooted in intense study and our resultant commitment to conservation of our natural resources and the environment, our support for sustainable economy, and the promotion of effective solutions in transportation, including mass transportation. We've got the following specific concerns. One, we already have legislation in place in Florida to improve energy efficiency but limited enforcement. We have technologies that are homegrown, available, and the intellectual resources here to make renewable energy a reality, but outsource those resources. We've left our residents with limited affordable energy options. Our commitment to renewable energy has actually gone down in the last 5 years rather than up. Our power companies continue to endorse substantial further reductions and reversal of renewable energy standards. Public Service Commission does not make public comment easily accessible to its residents, making the process not transparent. We're not training the next generation of skilled workers in this area and putting people to work in a clearly robust economic sector. The impact of these things, our failure to invest in renewable energy sources, is disingenuous. It doesn't represent the interests of its residents, doesn't support the development of a sustainable economy, doesn't trust its citizens to make effective, affordable choices for their families, and compromises a collective physical health. We respectfully request the following. One, hold public hearings. PSC, hold public hearings. Make the process more transparent. Increase civic engagement in the decision. meet standards that are already in place, meet standards established most recently by the EPA and reduce carbon emissions and address climate change in a meaningful way. Use resources we already have in Florida. Encourage private and public sector investment, put people to work, expand the solar pilot program, and incentivize residents and businesses to move to renewable sources of energy in their homes and places of work respectively. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Patricia Blantamura. I'm a city council member in Seminole, Florida. And I took some random notes, so bear with me here. I want to say first that Florida is a peninsula, and Pinellas County is a peninsula on a peninsula. Should we not be speaking up tonight? In fact, if we're not speaking up tonight, it's like sitting on a branch in a tree with a saw and sawing the branch that you're sitting on slowly. Well, this is going to accelerate, and the consequences are going to come a lot more quickly if we proceed in the manner in which we're doing. About 6 months ago, I spent 3 weeks in Germany, and the people there, it was an urban fellowship, they sent me back with the German energy plan through 2050, the German energy plan through 2050. And the bottom line, one of the principles is the German government set itself the goal of making Germany one of the most energy efficient and environmentally sound economies in the world while maintaining competitive energy prices and a high level of prosperity. And I have to emphasize that because I think a really, something that does not occur to people a lot is that to be environmentally responsible does not mean that it's excluding you from being economically prosperous. These are not mutually exclusive ideas. And when we get that, we will move forward and we want both. And let me just tell you a couple of the German plan things here. Like they have goals like primary energy demand will be progressively reduced by 80% by 2050. By 2050, every building in Germany will be climate neutral. Another thing, after Fukushima, they were not only taking out some of their nuclear plants, but they're accelerating taking them out because they see the writing on the wall. And did you say stop over there? Oh, is it up? Am I up? Oh, okay. Then I guess that means I better stop. Let's just happen on. That was 2 minutes already. Good God. I'm a politician. Let's stop chopping the branch we're sitting on, okay?
Actually, with that, I apologize. I do have to listen until 9 o'clock, which is around that time. And I don't want to suppress anybody's voice. The PACs are good at doing it by themselves. We actually want to take your public comment on the comment cards. We want you to fill those out if you're unable to make a comment at the microphone or interested in writing it down. We want to hear your comment that way. And yeah, we can go ahead and finish up the line here. And I'm going to introduce afterwards our organizer, Julia Bill. Well, we'll go ahead and finish up the rest of the comments, and just to let everybody know where. Please fill out the comment cards if you didn't get a chance to speak.
Good evening. My name is Winnie Foster, and I live at 311 57th Avenue South. I'm a grassroots organizer at the Sojourner Truth Center, and in studying Sojourner Truth's life, we know how important it is to speak truth to power. And so we're speaking our truth tonight to the Public Service Commission and sending many heartfelt messages and facts to them. I'm also, our organization is also a member of the Sunshine State Clean Energy Coalition, and we appreciate this community building work that is going on in all of this. I'm a great-grandmother, and I am very concerned about global warming and what is this going to mean to future generations, but also to our lives right now. And the global warming is like a heavy blanket coming down on top of us. And some of the reasons for that are directly traceable to the work of the Public Service Commission and the permission that they give to utilities to use the fuels that they are using. Let me give you some statistics. The statistics, the amount of CO2 that is in our atmosphere comes from 44% of it is utilities are using coal, burning coal, and we know about gas. And 36% of the CO2 is from the burning of fossil fuels. We say to the Public Service Commission, keep the dinosaurs in the ground. 20% comes from the natural gas, and then we know the other complications of getting the natural gas and polluting widely everywhere it goes. So I think we all need to do our civic duty, and that's the thing that I hear all the time, and I'm going to stand.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, and I'm home. I live at 2519 Driftwood Road in St. Petersburg. I understand that Germany is the first solar energy producer in the world. We are the Sunshine State. I am wondering, where does the cloud cover that prevents the efficiency of solar energy in Florida comes from? I'll let you speculate. Thank you.
My name is Chuck Turgeon. I am a citizen of St. Petersburg, Pinellas County, Florida, United States, and the world. I take my citizenship and my responsibilities as a citizen pretty seriously. Not just am I responsible to myself, I'm responsible to my community and the future. I ask that the Public Service Commission consider their responsibility, not just to themselves, but to also to their communities and to the future. I ask that they do what they can to serve the public that they should be serving, that they diminish the perception of corruption. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to look and see money flowing into Tallahassee from power companies and then see policy made by the Public Service Commission that benefits power companies. Even if there isn't a direct quid pro quo, there is the perception of corruption that erodes our confidence as citizens in our elected and non-elected leaders to do their job. I ask that they do what they can to make the standards for energy efficiency much more robust than what they are doing. And absent that, they will perpetuate that perception of corruption. And it is our job to organize and to shame them, every one of them, for sacrificing our future.
Yes. My name is Mark Skogman. I'm the host and executive producer of Spectrum 360 and the Tantalk Radio Network. Dr. Helen Kellegott, a well-known anti-nuclear activist, has stated that 20% of the electricity in the United States is wasted. What is the percentage of energy in the United States that's generated by nuclear power? 20%. We can eliminate nuclear power with energy efficiency and increasing renewables. We need to commit to a Manhattan-style project, renewable energy and energy security program in this country now. We can't let people who are obstructionists and wallowing in abject stupidity stop us from saving our civilization. Thank you.
With that, we will conclude the public comment portion of the night. And before we wrap up, we do have some elected officials here that I know got the chance to speak and wanted to see if you had any comments or reactions from the public comments that were made. If anybody like to say anything?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you all for coming and staying tonight. This kind of reminds me of some debates we've had on the commission where you just kind of wonder where the logic and the common sense is. My colleague on Seminole Council said, you know, we are optimistic. If anybody ought to be concerned about climate change and sea level rise, it's Pinellas County. We are the Sunshine State. If anybody ought to be doing more with solar power than renewables, it's the state of Florida. This is just common sense. And I told Julia that I wanted to get the facts, and I think I've got a lot of facts here tonight. I do want to tell you that the County Commission last year made sea level rise and climate change one of our strategic priorities. And I want to take this back to the Commission. I want to take this information back to the County Commission and see how we can go this up. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I wanted to make one more point. When I was talking candidly for the 3 weeks that I was in Germany with people there, people are very careful about what they tell Americans. And I asked in discussions, please be frank with me about what you think America is doing in its energy policy. And people did not want to be frank. And finally, one group of people said to me, they said, you know, your country has such great ideas, people with great ideas. How come you don't use your own ideas in your own country? They asked me. So, I mean, we're not asking for anything really weird. Let's use these great American ideas for making a better American future. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much for tonight. That's our public portion of the event tonight. I actually also want to thank Michelle for being a great work, and everyone give us Michelle. Thanks for your work. I'm going to hand it to Julia Hathaway, who can tell you about all the great things that we're going to do moving forward. So thank you very much,
everybody. Well, really quick story. I've been doing some work over in West Palm Beach. I was so happy to come back to St. Pete this week and come back and really knuckle down for this event. And I got up. I was supposed to have a breakfast with a friend. I didn't get my wake-up call. Okay, so I was a little mad. And then I went to turn on the shower. There was no hot water. I was a little mad. And then I couldn't put my hair dryer in the socket and actually make it function. And I went from socket to socket. And I thought, okay, well, what are the odds that my day is starting so badly? And then I thought, okay, I'm going to go to the office and dry my hair really quick and run. And I get to the hallway, and the lights are out in the hall. And I go to try to find stairs or something, and I do a face plant because there are stairs that I can see. And I'm like, coincidence? So anyway, thank you, Duke Energy. Finally turning the lights on, if you did. But anyway, so the important thing to take away tonight is that we have started something very, very important. And it is essential for each and every one of us to stay engaged. And because of this coalition, there are many ways in which to stay engaged. First of all, get your common card. There are papers. We have, you'll see in your program, we have a site where you can go and click through comments. Tim is setting up a telephone line. We will do a subsequent email out, and y'all will have that available. So get your comments to the PSC any which way you want. Also, sign the declaration. It's really, really simple. I mean, I couldn't have asked for any better sort of, concluding bullets. Energy efficiency is the most affordable way and least risky way to meet Florida's energy needs. It saves Florida customers far more money than expensive new power plants. Big power companies are investing in energy efficiency and solar elsewhere. Why not here? And it's the next 10 years of our lives, and that is going to set a huge a boulder in the path of building clean energy future for Florida if we don't activate now. So that leads me to thing 3 and the most fun and important thing you can do the rest of this month. We are getting buses. We are paying for meals. We are going to start at 5 in the morning. We're probably going to get home at 11 p.m. at night. It will be the most fun, exhausting, and satisfying day you will have had in a long, long time. So find people with clipboards. Rosemary, get in touch with us. Y'all have my email. You know where the Sierra Club office is. Come by and tour the Net Zero building. But let's talk about the next step and things that we need to do in the next couple weeks to get on those buses and get on the bus.
No, don't go. Don't go. Stay home. Be quiet. Stay quiet.
And thank you all for coming.
Yeah, right.
Need stop recording.